Hello, welcome to this edition of Real Life Law Edition. I'm your host, attorney Nicole Shepard. Really excited tonight to have Gregory Bright and Earl on at the same time. You know, Mr. Bright, I'm glad that you're able to share some time with us. Earl spoke at a criminal justice symposium that I put together for Southern University, and we talked about you in your absence, so I'm just excited to actually have you here. So I'll start with you first. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I was born right here in the city, New Orleans. Right now, you know, I do work with the Innocence Project, with Ray, and, you know, I'm happy to be here, you know, to support Earl in this venture.
Okay, well, glad to have you. Earl, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, currently I'm working with Attorney John T. Fuller as an investigator, which is my passion, to help people that's, you know, have issues with the law. And also I have under construction an organization that I'm still, you know, developing to help reach out to people that's been wrongfully convicted, such as with me and Mr. Bright, you know, did 27.5 years for a crime we didn't commit.
So I remember, Mr. Bright, that when I first heard the issue, the story that you guys, and all the things that you guys went through, you didn't know Earl, right?
No, not at the time of our arrest.
Right. So how do you think that they put you guys together? Because that was one of the things he said, and I'm seeing your fro right now because, you know, we used that picture for that Angola piece that we did. But how did they put you guys together?
I don't know. I mean, yeah, I have no idea. But, you know, the fact that there was enough of, I guess, a certain mindset at the time that, you know, just grabbing, you know, anyone for the crime seemed to be the thing to do. And without someone there to, you know, check and balance, you know, I mean, it's kind of stuff like this happens.
So, Earl, so what happened? What were you guys originally charged with?
It was second-degree murder. It was 1975, October 31st. And it was a, you know, neighborhood friend of ours that ended up getting murdered. And the person that they used to testify against her, she stayed close in the area where the crime was committed. And doing my research and investigation, I come to learn that it was real important to the New Orleans Police Department to get a witness, and also it was election time. And during that time, then she put the case together for the state, and the government knew that they didn't. Initially, they was pursuing a male and a female that they had information from a confidential informer that worked for NOPD, which it was all in a police report that we was denied during our trial. The information that we found out through our diligent research, the NOPD had a confidential informer named Clarence Carter that provided them with 2 suspects before we even came into the picture. They pursued them for the first 10 days of the investigation, and for whatever unknown reason, they dropped the ball pursuing them. They put a wanted bulletin out for them, which we didn't know about, and more importantly, they had an informer that gave them a lead. So whatever took them off of that lead, they put me and Mr. Bright together, which I didn't even know him, no more than he, you know, I stayed in the Callio project and he stayed in the Callio. But when we was on the docks in Orleans Parish, when I seen him, the first thing came to mind, he committed the crime, because that's just basically, I didn't know him, and that was really. Because you knew that you
didn't do it.
I didn't know him and I didn't do it.
Right, so you knew that you didn't do it, so you just said, okay, so Mr. Bright, when you saw him, what did you think?
Well, I felt the same way, basically, you know what I'm saying? Well, you know, there it is. I mean, they already got someone in here for it, you know, so it should be a matter of time, you know, before I get out, you know, because, you know, he said he in here for it. And,
right.
But, you know, as the things turned out, you know, Earl and I were both charged together. We were identified as being, you know, the perpetrators, not only for the night of the crime, but the witness went as far as said, we returned to our house 2 days later. It said that Earl held a gun to her 18-month-old baby head, threatened to kill her child and stuff. I mean, this is.
So what you think? You know, and I'm listening, and then I'm going to have you guys come back and do another show with me so we can get into more detail, because that's some of the things that we said we would do.
Okay.
And Earl and I have been talking about the John Thompson case, because that's been obviously airing and just some of the discrepancies. But what do you think the motive was? I mean, I know election year, and I'm assuming, yeah, because in 1975 I was like 1. So I don't know anything. My mom probably would know about a homicide. So do you think it was just a lot of press behind the homicide?
Well, this guy was, he was a 15-year-old, black kid,
Okay.
and, when something like that happens, I mean, naturally the community is outraged, you just want answers and stuff like that.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because, certainly, the guy didn't commit suicide or anything, the guy was, a student, 7th grade, 8th grade student and stuff. So, yeah, there was a lot of pressure, to not only, get a conviction. There was a lot of pressure not only to get a conviction, but to make an initial arrest,
Right.
So, and like Earl said, there were confidential informers that had given the police officers information, long before Earl and I was named in this.
And how old were you?
Well, I had just made 20 at the time.
Okay. All right, so Earl, so then you get arrested, and then when you see him, are you thinking the same thing, that at some point, you're going to be released?
Right. That's truly, was the concept that I had when I seen him, because I knew we didn't know each other, and I knew that sometimes the system make mistakes, and even though they made 2 mistakes, because neither one of us participated in the crime, after we had to sit through it, and based upon the district attorney office withheld information that our attorneys didn't have the opportunity to defend at that time we was going to trial, based upon the confidential informer that gave them information, and more so, after we got convicted, that same information our attorneys didn't have. Harry Connick wrote a letter to the pardon board opposing the clemency of Mr. Bright, but he misrepresented facts that came out of that police report that we didn't have, and equated that to me and Bright. So that's some evidence that we have right now with them, with a oral argument that's coming up this month on the 29th in Houston Federal Court concerning that same withheld information that we was deprived of fair trial in 1976.
Mr. Bright, how long were you incarcerated for?
27 and a half years.
Okay, so at any point are you thinking after the conviction that you're going to get out?
I was just really devastated by this, the entire ordeal, having gone in the system, I was a high school dropout and stuff, and I wasn't formally educated, so I knew it was kind of like an uphill battle, so I just, did a lot studying, did a lot of praying, and, I was able to learn a lot about, law, and, assist whomever that, was trying to reach out at the time. So I've always felt good about just being able to, assist someone, if not in any other way than just articulate, my circumstances. I had to first learn to articulate what was really happening.
A lot of people will say, I'm innocent, I didn't commit the crime, I shouldn't be here, the system is unjust. So at what point do you think people really started believing you, that you were innocent?
Well, for me, it didn't really matter whether or not they believed it, as long as
you knew it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And as long as they turned the ear, I was satisfied with that, because people get tired of hearing me say that, that I'm in here for a crime I didn't do,
Right.
And so in prison, you hear that a lot, guys feel like because the witness said he was on the other side of the street and he was on this side, that somehow equates into, not being the right guy, But for me, I just felt that hopefully, you know, with God's blessing, you know, that, you know, we'd be able to find something that we could really use in order to obtain our freedom.
Okay, so Earl, the pictures, that's you when you were arrested?
Yes, this is the photograph when I first got arrested at the age of 17. And the question you asked, Mr. Bright, about having that hope of being, you know, given an opportunity, and that's where we had to retrieve the police report that we didn't have back then during the trial.
So how did you guys get the police report?
Through filing, you know, public record requests and writing to the police department, which I eventually, through the grace of God, got fortunate to get it after the state laws was changed, which that's when we had the opportunity to get those same reports that right now the government saying it was an open file policy that they allow our attorneys to review, which was untrue. And right now we still struggling with that same argument to expose the corrupt process that was going on then and still existing today.
Well, how do you feel that Louisiana has the highest exoneration rate in the country? You know, we've talked about that, you know, on the show before. And I think people have to know that, because we have so many people that are incarcerated, and, you know, when it happens in Texas, Texas will give people funds, you know, for the wrongful conviction. And here we don't do that. I know that you guys had some relief in federal court, but nothing compared to, you know, what's going on. So people are thinking that, and meaning that you guys were seeking, like, you know, funds in court for compensation. So what do you think about that? Do you think Louisiana needs to modify and compensate people for the wrongful convictions?
Yes.
Because you don't get the time back. I mean, you know, you don't get the 27.5 years back. And one of the things that I've said is that, you know, people go through that process, but you lose, you know, touch with your family, children, siblings, and you just don't get it back.
Where modification should come in various aspects because of the accountability that the district attorney is not in place right now. And the funds that we've been awarded through the legislation, which is a small cap,
right.
And the years that I was incarcerated, 27.5 years, my family and friends and the travel that they took the expensive to come visit me, it capped that numbers that they afforded me right now. So really, actuality, they haven't did anything for me.
Oh, I believe you. I believe you. We have about 30 seconds left. You have any final thoughts, Mr. Wright?
Well, yeah. You know, one like you said earlier, that, you know, we should really look at the situation a little closer. And for me, you know, I think it's my personal opinion that, you know, there's nothing wrong with the system. You know, I think it's the misapplication of these laws that, you know, suddenly we find ourselves in these kind of situations, you know, where we got a high exoneration rate of, you know, that just reflects what was going on. And 10-to-1, if you look at the people that were convicted, they were convicted upon the same administration.
Right. No, I understand, because John Thompson was obviously a part of that, you know, part
Absolutely.
of that era. Earl, any final thoughts?
Yeah, lastly, and the number of high exoneration rate that we have, that's a pattern that Harry Connick office it's established already that even in the John Thomas case, it got, you know, slaughtered based upon the decision that came down. And right now today, we have that same case before the Fifth Circuit that we appealed and we'll be in Houston on this month on the 29th, arguing that same pattern that you just spoke about.
Right. So I do want you guys to come back in June to give me an update on what's going on. And, you know, I thank God for both of you guys, because both of you guys are strong. And I apologize to you all for the mishap of the district attorney's office and, you know, taking that time from your life. But I'm glad that God gave you an opportunity to enjoy these days and make progress. So congratulations to both of you guys.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for watching this edition of Real Life. I'm your host, attorney Nicole Shepard. Stay tuned. We're going to return shortly.